To start. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Here. I've been wanting to do that. I know Tony gets
Glad you're here.
Wait, hold on, you guys. Nobody ever gets it, so I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about when that pops up. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. I don't know if it played. It kind of skipped.
It did, and I absolutely hate that. So what?
I know. That's
really?
why I know he does.
I love it.
Just did it.
That's why I do it.
I love it.
Anywho,
I'm Brian Bacchus, and you're not. Nor will you ever be.
I'm Jamal Smith. Welcome, and we have
Toni Bailey Reigns.
There we go.
Toni Bailey Reigns.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna get right into the nitty-gritty of it. Toni, go ahead and take it away. We got some special guests, and we're just gonna jump into the fray.
Enjoy, you guys. It's a great show.
So, good morning, everyone. This is it seems like Toni Talks is Tuesdays and Thursdays now. We always still have Throwback Thursday on the ready in case I don't have someone to come on. And some things changed. I promised we would probably have a retired firefighter on today. However, our schedules were conflicted. So I'm still bringing a special guest or some special guests, and I will be bringing in people from BZ Build Co. The first person I'm adding to the stage is John Gallagher, and the second one is David Donahue. I've had an amazing conversation with them about an hour and a half, and decided to bring them on today because they're really here to serve our community. Matt will pop in at some point, but I just wanted to introduce them. I'm going to let both John and David for a moment speak about BZ Build Co., who they are, how long they've been in the building industry, and more importantly, then we're going to talk about their why, because you all know I don't bring anybody on the show unless I have fully vetted them and basically interrogated them. And David is laughing because they learned a lot from me in our conversation yesterday for an hour and a half, but I also let them know you're not getting on the show if you're only here for a land grab or a money grab, right? If
Same plan.
I'm not bringing you to my community if you're trying to get our land and do whatever, or if you're just coming in to build a bunch of homes to flip, right? If you're here to help our community, then let's have a conversation. And so anybody out there that knows me knows I do not hold my tongue, knows I'm going to say exactly what I need to say. And David and John now know that. But
I'm going to go ahead and let you do. I'm going to jump behind the scenes and handle business.
Okay, cool.
Nice seeing you guys, meeting you guys.
You too, Brian.
See you in a few. But I brought them on today because I thought it was really important to hear from them, hear their why, and see how they can help Altadena to rebuild, because they are yet another builder that's an alternative builder. Because I even talked to David about prefabs, 3D, and affordability, right? And I used a scenario: if I were somebody that only had $400,000 or $500,000 total for all my insurance, right? What could they do, right? Not okay. Well, yeah, we can rebuild for $1 million, right? When there's people, and we know that there's lots of people that just don't have that. So I will introduce John first, and then David. John, if you'd like to speak about who you are, what your experience is, and how and what your why is, that would be great.
I appreciate it, Toni. Thank you so much for involving us on the show. We're delighted to be here, and really, I want to talk about BZ Build Co., why it was started, and how we really look forward to giving back to the community. So, we are a newly formed entity. However, we are a significant group of local individuals who were hand assembled to be able to address this particular situation and challenge in Altadena, which is helping guide the community towards redevelopment and rebuilding their homes. And that really starts first with understanding the building landscape, but then also utilizing experience and knowledge to help set realistic expectations throughout the building process. And that's really, who we are at our core. Is we focus on building trust. We're transparent. We really help and guide and navigate you through the process from the early stages of designing through through the building process. So we are that one-stop shop that we had talked about, prior to hopping on this podcast with you. And really, our goal there is to help you design and create what you want and what your imagination, is defining. However, we are a builder, and that's our specialty. And so with that, we've, collaborated and are working with some of the local groups that are trying to create affordable solutions with pre-approved plans and so forth. Altadena Collective being one of them. And there's some other groups as well who we're getting acclimated with. But as far as, introducing myself, I'm an Angelino. I'm born and raised in LA. I've been in construction since I was a kid. My family, my grandfather started a subcontracting business 65 years ago that's still around. And my grandmother's 89, still working hard. So we know construction. The family is a union contractor, so they do a lot more public work, low-income housing, schools, etc.
Prevailing wage.
Yeah, prevailing wage jobs, exactly. And so myself personally, I've focused on more passion projects, which has been a single-family development, smaller multifamily, for affordable and market value, as well as providing consulting advice for industrial clients. So my role is at BZ Buildco as a build specialist, and I'm client facing, and I'm working with the community to give them an understanding of what to expect from start to finish, and really everything and anything to look out for as far as exposure, liability, and costs. But, we have recognized through this process, Dave and I, and we are really entering uncharted territory here, is that Altadena is a very strong community. There's a lot of history there, along with, there's a lot of neighborhoods in LA that are historic that, a lot of people don't really recognize. Altadena in particular, has a very extensive African-American population. And those who are not familiar may not know that. And so, with that and addressing families that have owned property there for 50, maybe even 100 years or so, we are looking to be able to create solutions to help them get back into their house. So with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague and fellow build specialist, David Donahue. Go ahead, take it away.
Tony, again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. It is really a treat. And I just want to kind of share with everybody how much I really enjoyed our conversation yesterday for about an hour and a half, because it is not that often that I come across somebody who knows as much as you do. So for everybody, again, I'm a new one to this podcast, but kudos to you for really diving in. I mean, and really going above what most people do, learning about construction as much as the stuff that you've really done. And so I just want to kind of validate and lift up the fact that you have done more than most people that I've interacted with in Altadena and around Pasadena, and with Jonathan and I, and with our colleague Matt, who just jumped on. We're talking to a lot of people. So a little bit of it. So again, thank you for the opportunity. My name is David Donahue. I live in Burbank with my wife, and I have my 89-year-old father-in-law who lives in this ADU that's in the picture behind me. And so I can kind of look right over here and I can see that exact same image. So we built this a couple of years for him. I've been in the ADU construction space for a number of years, but I've also been in the factory built prefab space for over 25 years. So I got to know the company, BZ Buildco, the general contractor, John Brennan, just because of my advocacy and work for construction, because I'm a member of the Casita Coalition, where we advocate for missing middle. We advocate for a lot of things that are just like this. Like a single ADU is a great thing to have. I'm not saying that we need to go, 4 or 6 units on a small lot. That's a little bit of a stretch, but that's a little bit about my background. I was asked to join BZ Buildco, but they're like, David, we know you know construction. We know you are comfortable talking to people, and kind of helping kind of say, hey, this is what we're doing. And so they asked me to come on board right after the fire event. And I was pleased to be able to do it, which Toni gets to my why. Because I was basically semi-retired. And they said, you're going to have an opportunity to join a construction team that does, focuses on the building of it. We also offer design and permit expediting. So we can handle all of it from start to finish, or we can handle just the construction. So for me, it was something where I was like, okay, I know how difficult new construction is. I know how amazingly hard it is for somebody to understand all the complexities. And so that's why I'm like, we need to focus on that, because no one signed up for this.
No,
I want to build a new home. It's like, okay, you want to do one of the hardest things that you could possibly do and one of the most expensive things you're going to ever do in your life? Oh, sure. That's different if you want to build something like an ADU or a new home. This is such a unique, such a historic event. It was like, nope, I want to be part of this team. I want to be working with people like Matt Hartwell, with Jonathan Gallagher, with John Brennan, and the entire BZ Build Go team, because I feel in my heart that we're going to be able to deliver new homes to people that need them, and not at a crazy, ridiculous $1,000 a square foot price, at a very price. And those are some of the things I'm really looking forward, Toni, for us really diving into the future on how we can do just that, and also be able to say, hey, like you mentioned earlier, if they can't come up, they don't have all the money to do a brand new custom home, what are their other options? And I'm really hoping that we're going to have a conversation in the future about that. But I don't want to take up too much time. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for saying that, because as I said, that was very important to me. And I let that be known, yesterday when I spoke with you all, because I know you took a lot of notes, David, and I did a lot of talking, but I don't know if you realized about the demographics of the population being 57% 60 and above. And so with that, a lot of people that brought homes a long time ago, some of their insurance lapsed, or some are underinsured. Many are underinsured because they didn't know we changed all the windows and doors in the house, so now we need to change our insurance, or just to keep up with the times, right? And so they're underinsured. And then, as John spoke about, a lot of people have heard now that primarily also on the west side of Altadena is where the historical park comes from, right? Meaning there's a lot of legacy, because having been redlined from buying in Pasadena, a lot of the Black and brown, African-American, and Latino people moved up into Altadena. And I don't want to forget about our Latino brothers and sisters, because there are so many of them that are there that have legacy as well. And they're kind of being forgotten about. So I want to amplify them as well, and not just say, only, African-Americans. Altadena, as you know, is extremely diverse. Matt jumped in, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself in a moment, because Matt actually lives, like a lot of you all know. How many of y'all go to China Express on the corner of Lake and Howard?
I go to the Louisiana Fried Chicken like 4 times.
Well, Louisiana Fried Chicken or China Express. Everybody knows that corner.
Well, that chicken is fresh.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So when Matt said, I live right at like Lake and Howard where the Chinese restaurant, I was like, China Express? Because he was trying to describe you live right there. And he's lived in Altadena, I think about 8 years. And then, tell me, you guys, if I mess up her name, Ashlyn, I believe it is.
That's correct, Ashlyn.
Right, who's the co-founder of BZ Bid Co., has lived in Altadena for 14 years on East Poppy Fields, and she lost her home. And so that made me feel a lot better too, because we actually have an Altadenian and a Pasadena's. Matt is borderline, almost Altadenian, but he's right below, because you're right below New York, but in Woodbury, but it's all good. Still, you're a Dena person and have lived there, and you know what the community is like, and our close-knit community and our diversity and all of that, which is why I brought you all on, because you have to know Altadena to understand Altadena and have a love for it, right? And another thing I told you all is I don't want people to come in that are only concerned with not just the money grab or the land grab, but want to change things, that want to come in and gentrify, that want to come buy these lots and flip them, or say, oh, and we need all sidewalks and we need this and that. And we would need to incorporate as a city. Well, if you want to become a city, move to Pasadena or another city. Altadena has not been incorporated, and the bulk of the people do not want to incorporate. Some of the newer Altadenians do, but the longtime legacy people and others are like, no, that's why I moved here. I didn't want to be part of a city with sidewalks. Then I want the uniqueness of Altadena. So after talking to you all yesterday, I was like, yeah, let's bring them on, because again, the hearts that you all have for the community and for wanting to help the community is what's important to me before I just bring somebody on here.
We really appreciate it, Toni. Thank you.
Yeah. So Matt, introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about you, living right there by Louisiana and trying to express.
Absolutely. And I got to throw out a plug for P-Dots, the comic book shop right there that always has the Batman statue. Fantastic comic book shop. So I live on Howard. I've lived there since early 2018, so almost 8 years now. And my wife and I, honestly, we wanted to be in Altadena, but then this was the house that we found, and we're like, well, we're 2 blocks away. It counts.
Wait, go back. You wanted to be where?
Let me tell you, on the drive home last night, I sounded like a crazy person because I just kept muttering under my breath, Altadena, Altadena, Altadena.
There you go.
Because as a transplant, people are going to have a heart attack if they hear how I say Los Feliz.
So yesterday, you guys on the call, both, I think Jonathan, I don't know if it was Dave or Jonathan, but maybe it was Dave and Matt, said Altadena. And I was like, time out, hold up.
Yep.
You did.
A-L, like Al, not Altadena, A-L-L. You know, I'm going to correct somebody in a heartbeat. So I corrected them. So
all together now.
Right. Altadena. So just now Matt said, and something Altadena. That's why I was like, wait, you wanted to be where? So that's our joke.
Absolutely.
We need to just have people say the name of our town correctly. So see behind me where it says A-L-T-A-D-A? There's no 2 L's. There's just one.
Just one
anyway,
L.
Go ahead, Matt.
But no, so Altadena has been our community since we moved here. You know, the park that my son, he's 5 years old now. We always used to go to Loma Alta and up to Farnsworth. Those were our 2 parks when he was a toddler, and so it's very much my community. Our home was smoke damaged. It's still standing. We were able to move back in at the beginning of April. But my wife, Toni, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about Zello support. My wife, during the fires as they were going on, she was out of town taking care of her grandfather who had broken his hip, and my son and I were evacuated to a friend's house in Atwater Village, and she's, understandably panicking, and she was just like, what can I do? How can I help? And so she got on the phone that night and she's a set decorator, and she started calling all of her friends at the studios, at the prop houses, and every time, I don't know if you're aware, every time a movie or TV show wraps, in case there's going to be reshoots or a second season, they take all the furniture from the sets, brand new furniture that, an actor has sat on all of 3 times on camera, and they wrap it in plastic, they put it in a temperature controlled warehouse, and it sits there. And then sometimes it gets used again, sometimes it just sits there in perfect condition and gets almost forgotten about by these studios. And so she started making all these calls, and she hooked up with Louis. And Louis D'Argenzio is actually one of the co-founders of BZ Build Co. as well. And she hooked up with him because he had a lot of great space to set up a showroom. And they got over $1 million worth of furniture donated from all the studios. We ended up getting furniture, and I'm not talking like a single couch. I'm talking we got kitchen tables, chairs, beds, living room sets, full sets to families, to over 1,000 families who lost their homes in the fire for where they are now, either their temporary housing or new housing that they're going to stay in. Because that's my wife's thought was, clothes are taken care of. There's always going to be, people donating clothes, water, etc. But these big ticket items, how do we help people make where they're having to stay now into a home? And so she did that. And so I volunteered working at Zello support. And so, I was coming in every day helping with customer interaction and IT stuff for them, because I do IT as well. And when Louis and Ashlyn and John Brennan were making BZ, they asked me if I'd be interested in coming on both to help on the IT side, because every company needs some IT work, but mostly my actual title, I'm head of experience. I handle customer relations here because at BZ, we know, as you guys were saying earlier in the show, no one woke up the first week of January this year thinking, I'm going to build a new house from scratch. And so it's a hard process. And our goal is to make it as easy as possible. My team, myself and my team of relationship managers, we're there to hold your hand the whole way through the process. When you sign with BZ, you're assigned a relationship manager, and they're your go-to point person for any question or concern you have. You can reach out to them anytime, day or night. They'll get back to you within a single day, and we will take care of whatever's going on. You know, if you're thinking, oh, even if it's something as random as, actually, you're in the middle of construction and you realized the way we want our bed oriented is over here. I should move that outlet from there to there. I don't have the, electrician's number. You call your relationship manager. They get a hold of the electrician as soon as possible. They make sure that even a small change like that happens ASAP, is taken care of. That's our whole goal, is to just make it as frictionless, as painless as possible, because everyone's had enough pain so far.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, because that's super important that people know and understand that, like, there are people out there that do care. So your wife, my heart to her. I told you yesterday, please tell her thank you for the community, because you all are Dena people, right? And and you saw it, and you had to evacuate, and then she went into action. And because of her being a set designer and knowing, I would love some furniture brand new that somebody has set on once or twice, right? This wrapped in a controlled warehouse, wrapped up, because it'll be used maybe on another set, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, if it never was, it's going to be sold or given away or who knows what.
Toni, can I tell you something cool?
Yeah.
One family got all the dorm room furniture from Elphaba's dorm in Wicked.
Oh, wow.
All that hand-carved, ornate Wizard of Oz stuff. That was donated to us, and when they walked into the showroom and saw it, they lost their minds.
Right, they were like, I need that
so
right now.
So they took that home. And
Do you guys have any furniture from Rivendell?
That would be amazing, but I think that's all still in New Zealand. Brian, can I just say, I love your beanie. I've got a 412 area code. I'm a Pittsburgh man myself.
Well, I'm gonna just tell you the truth, like I told your other two cohorts. I'm from Ohio, but my uncles are truckers. Yeah, me too. But my uncles were truckers, and they were big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And they said, if you ever become an Ohio fan team, you will be disappeared. So that's why I'm always, when they're looking at me from heaven, going, yeah, my boy.
So he's right with you on the Pittsburgh thing, that's for sure. Well, thank you all. I mean, that basically, Matt, tells what your why is, right? Yeah. You are a Pasadena person. You've lived there 8 years, I think you said, and the 910 whatever is your zip code, right? We've got 91001, 04, 07, so you're all in that area. And you're part of us. And so the fact that, like, you live there and you now have the opportunity to help rebuild Altadena. Oh, and Loma Alta Park is also Alta. I know you say Loma Alta. I got to just work with you to get you on that Alta versus
It's because I've been doing all this Duolingo Spanish. And so I see the AL and I just go, oh. And
you know what? You're kind of absolutely right, because Spanish, you say Alta.
Nope.
Yep.
Yeah. So only gringos and non-Spanish people say
and that would be us.
So that's why we say Altadena, because we never said Altadena, because even the Hispanic people never said that we grew up.
So. I'm just ragging Matt, though. He knows. It's all good. He said yesterday on the way home, he was trying to say it over and over. It's all good. Eventually, you know what's going to happen? You're going to say Alta, and then you're going to hear me right here on your shoulder, and you're going to go, oh, I mean Altadena. Toni said it's Altadena. But no, you're all good. No, but
you're safe if you just say Dena.
Yeah, just say Dena. Yep.
Yeah.
That way they don't know which one you're talking about.
Upper or lower Dena. But the fact is, like, that explains your why, right? Like, this is your community. You live there. Not that Jonathan or John or David don't. I mean, Burbank and LA, you know, Palos Verdes, Playa Vista, whatever, we're still all SoCal, right? We're still different parts of the valley, San Gabriel Valley, whatever, but we're all a community. And so for our SoCal community, and to be honest, John, you were like in the middle of both. You're right there by Palos Verdes. I mean, you saw all that. We're probably affected by that smoke, couldn't hardly breathe, or, you know, like the asthma. I mean, the brown cloud that we used to have was going on. And then up here, so you were probably kind of caught in the middle of both, you know, smokes doing their thing. But I really appreciate you all coming on. I appreciate you telling who you are and your why. And then my thing is, and we discussed this yesterday, so I'll just say it again here. How do you anticipate, as much as possible, helping this community that is 95% gone and burned down, that needs to come back? We know that there are a lot of people that are over the age of 60 and a lot of people that are uninsured. So how can BZ Build Co., if someone comes to you that's in their 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever, and they've heard from other people that it's going to cost $1 million and take them 2 years to even get started building, and people are saying, I don't know that I have that kind of time, right? We've got 98-year-olds, we've got 96 and 94-year-olds that have said, I'm building back. I want to be back in my house. I want to take my last breath in my house. It won't be the exact same house, but it will be their home, right? Because it's their land. And that's where they want to live out their last days. How can you tell me that your company will be able to help? If I'm a scenario, if I'm somebody that comes and says, I had $250,000 worth of insurance on my total loss, and then my insurance tells me I have about another 150 for my inside, all my personal belongings, that's $400,000. Everybody I've met with, architects are telling me they want to charge me 80 to 100 just to draw. Because I'm telling you what I have heard, right? So this is how I'm building this scenario. And then I have 400,000, but everybody's telling me 450, 500, 600, 1,000 a square foot, that it's going to cost me $1 million to get a house back. And I have 400, and maybe I can get 500 or 6 from SBA. But then I have to have a mortgage of $3,000 or $4,000 a month. I haven't had a mortgage in 20 years. So I really can't build back. So what do? I don't have any family. So the best thing I could do to live out my days is just settle with my insurance company and sell my land and move or travel or who knows what. Or what can you really do to help me get back into a home that I could live my latter days in?
I'm gonna let David go ahead first. You take it.
Toni, you brought that up yesterday when we were talking, and I've been spending a lot of time really thinking about that. One of the things that we, Jonathan and I did, is we put together a Rebuild Roadmap webinar, and we do it online and we also do it in person, just to be able to have an opportunity to bring whatever the most important issues are, forward. And we've done, what is construction like, what does it cost, what go into the costs? And I think that would be relevant to what you're asking about, because, and as we look at your specific scenario of somebody who's a little bit older, they may not have 4 or 5 years that they really want to wait that long, and they have, 500,000 or something below. That's where we're going to, as you very correctly said, there are other aspects within their insurance, because it could be called ordinance and law, which is that consideration to be able to have higher values put into, you have to comply with what's called Title 24. So Title 24 is an energy efficiency code that the state has mandated for all new construction. Now, some of us who advocate for legislative changes to Catherine Barger's office and to the governor's office are trying to say, could we relax? Could we not have some of those apply?
Okay.
So that would be, as an example, let's not require, if you don't want it, solar panels, because that can cost $15,000, $35,000, and those line items add up, Toni.
Yeah, they do.
We're looking at kind of pulling those down, but to really get to, if they don't have that much, that's where the alternate building construction methods that we also touched on yesterday really need to be given some consideration. And so our job is to, one, look at what they have. And that means diving into their insurance policies and really being able to identify for them to say, hey, here's what we think we can do based on what they want.
And so if somebody were to come to you, right, and they're assigned to Matt's team or get a relationship manager, and that relationship manager works with each of you or whatever and says, okay, we're going to dive into this, would that relationship manager also take the place of an external adjuster when working with the insurance company? Number one, that is a question just popped in my head, and kind of work through that process. Number two, or I guess that would be number two question. Number one, how much would it cost me to come to you all and you start to look into it for me? How much money would I have to give you upfront or whatever? And then what if at the end I say, I really can't, how much am I going to have to pay you?
So, and I'm happy. I want to jump on that. Then I'm going to hand it over to Matt. So typically they would have a conversation with either Jonathan or I, and we're going to say, okay, what is your situation? They're going to share it, and then we're going to help direct them. So if it's something, and this is where I think excel. They're like, we do not know what to do next.
Right.
And there are a lot of people like that. We're going to say, what is it that you need help with first? And if it is your insurance, we're going to take a really quick look at that. It's not going to cost anything. We want to be able to put you down a direction. So that'll be Jonathan and I kind of directing within our team to be able to say, hey, we're going to look at this person and figure out exactly what we can very quickly. It doesn't take us much time at all. But then we're going to bring them in to say, okay, then when you really try to identify what it is they want to rebuild, that is going to be what we call our phase one. So let's say they don't have an architect, they don't have a designer, but they do want to get what we call our conceptual plan, and that's going to be the floor plan and the elevation, and it's going to be on the property, and we're going to get a general idea of cost, and we're going to go to the county to figure out if that something can be built, because we're not going to take you down a path, Toni, that you can't build it. And what that means, go ahead.
I was just thinking, so what if I say, I want exact replica, like for like. I walk into my house, my living room's to the left, my dining room or kitchen, whatever is to the right. I have a hall. I've got 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 2 baths, 3 baths, whatever. I want the exact same floor plan, but I don't have the plans from before, but I could probably sketch it for you. And I want you to give me exactly what I have, because I'm older. And I don't want all this newfangled stuff that will then make me not feel like it's my home. My home's already gone, right? But I want it exactly like I had. So if I sketch, you'll work with me back and forth to build me exactly what I had?
Exactly. So there's a couple benefits to that I want to touch on, because we've actually seen that in clients where their home was on that property line. So the property line from their property or their home and the neighbors, they were on that property, like right on it. That's called a zero setback. Typically it's 5 feet or 4 feet. So we have a zero setback. And if somebody's doing like for like, the same footprint, they get to go right back on that property line with a zero setback.
But with the new codes, everybody has to have a 5-foot setback. So how could that be? Because you would just have to shift the house over a little bit?
No, we're still able to still go zero setback on. They need to have, the firemen need to get around somehow. You can't have zero setbacks on everything, but typically it's only one property line that's going to be right on it. So I have some clients that were actually over the property line, and we've been going to the county, which is what we do on a weekly basis. If we have individual specific situations that are very unique, and there's so many of them, we're going to go to the county and say, hey, we have this, here's our issue. And then we typically work through that. So like for likes are actually not that hard to do. We're going to be able to work with them where it just kind of makes things go that much more smoothly. But then the first conceptual parts, because you asked the question, and I promise you I'll always answer it as well as I can about price. So the price for that first phase is $5,000, and we're going to do just where it is on the property. We're going to give the floor plan, which shows where all the rooms are, all the doors, and then after you give us that's what we want, and then we're going to do the elevation. And that at that point, we're going to know that we feel pretty confident, not 100%, but pretty confident we're going to be able to get that through LA County and a permitting.
And if I have a picture of my old house and I want it to look the exact same,
That's
when
not
you're
hard.
doing all the design, you're going to make it look the exact same. Obviously, like if I had not wood, but I have to have hardscaping, you could get me siding that makes it look exactly like that.
And
right?
you touched on what I was going to respond to, that the fire hardening measures are going to be there. And if you're in a high fire area, well, there's going to be some more. But so we want to be able to integrate all of what the county is going to say. We want it because most people want to be able to have it as fire hardened, as protected as possible. We're going to do that. So yes, if they had a picture of it and it had horizontal lap siding, or if it had stucco, or it had Spanish, or it had some sort of, mid-century modern, or it had just anything like Craftsman, which was everything in Altadena was beautiful. Everything from the Google Streets.
Right. We
it's
literally
so
had
unique.
everything. We had modern, we had mid-century modern, we had Tudor, we had Spanish, we had, like the house behind John, even like what your ADU, But again, a lot of it was wood, right?
Yeah.
That's why we went up, because we were a big timber box town. That's what I say. But if I want it to look the exact same in the exact same layout, you can do that. And instead of it being wood on the front, right? And it might have been stucco around it, but it would be stucco. My understanding is now there's a paint that goes into the stucco that is now fireproof or fire retardant or whatever, and won't burn for about 4 or so hours. So that would be my same stucco look, but if I had wood on the front or bricks on the front or whatever, I could give you this picture and say, I don't want it to change. I want my exact same house. You are going to, whoever designs it, does the elevation, make it look identical to that photo so that I'm happy. And then I sign a contract with you and give you the $5,000, or I give you the $5,000 first. You do all that, and then I sign my contract.
So, Toni, I want to chime in here. So, I think the first and most important piece of working with BZ Buildco, or even working with any design build company, is one that's solution driven and one that's going to be your partner. When you're working with the county here, you have to be able to have a representative that's going to fight for you. The county has, they have all their guidelines. They'll say one thing and they'll do something else. And
Absolutely.
so, and a lot of this code, language is interpretation. And so, when someone comes to us, a customer client says, "Hey, I want to rebuild the exact same thing," we pull up the Google images, and this is part of our design process. We pull up the image, we look at exactly what you had, and our design team works with the county through that process. And this is part of the $5,000 to really be able to get a confirmation on what we can rebuild per their guidelines. And so we, through that phase one process, we're really working, we're value engineering as well. We're working with the customer to be able to provide them as close to what they had before, if the resources are a concern. And for many of the demographic in Altadena, they are. And so, you obviously mentioned a lot of challenges that people are facing, right? They were underinsured. They're very limited on budget, 400, 500,000. So, we are looking to be creative in our strategy as well. We have the ability now with the codes to do JADUs, where you can have a portion of your connected square footage be a separate address for potential for rental income, so long as you own or occupy. That might be strategic for someone who's older, who may want to have.
Wait. So let's say my house was 1,700 square feet. So when we rebuild, I say I want it the same, but I've also been told I have to go up 200 square feet because I'm under that 2,000 because of new ADA compliance codes. And the hallways, doorways, bathrooms have to be ADA compliant. Somebody can wheel in a wheelchair, not get stuck, not hit a wall or anything like that. But somehow I can use part of that, my 1,700 square feet, to do a ADU that's connected.
ADUs
Or
would be
JADU? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, ADUs would be separate. ADUs are not considered part of the like for like.
Okay, so a JADU, which is that considered a junior ADU, or what's the J for?
It's a junior ADU.
Okay.
It's up to 500 square feet, and it's
500,
attached.
okay.
It's attached to the existing residence. It doesn't have to. It could be connected with by way of a door, but it could be a solution to be able to have someone potentially as a rental income, or to just provide another dwelling.
Caregiver can live there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you have maybe a caregiver or a family member. So just being able to walk through and have creative solutions that people are on really tight budgets, and how to manipulate your space to be able to work for them. Also, I wanted to talk about just working through insurance, right? Typically, when you're wanting to build a custom house, you have an idea of how much you want to spend, and you're working with the designer to create something that's aligned with what your costs are, or what you have to spend. So we are going to be able to identify through looking at your insurance policy was where you have coverage. Our expertise in working with adjusters and different insurance companies is putting together a specified line item budget on the insurance companies, the software that they use, which is the Xactimate, so that they can supply that to their adjuster so that they can get paid out per their policy coverage amounts. So
now, I heard someone told me their insurance company, several people have said this, and this might be what David was talking about too, that extra, but there is a quote unquote secret little insurance. All insurance company knows they have to do this, but they don't tell their customers. But it's basically about half of the face value of your policy for your loss to rebuild. So if it was $250, there's another $125 that the insurance knows they have to give, but it is generally goes directly towards the build when the builder sends them their estimate and says this is what it will really cost, and then the insurance goes on and covers that. And I don't even know what that is called. It might be what you said, Dave, that extra for the
so for ordinance and law, it is usually about 20%. It's not quite 50.
Okay.
But all of these things, Toni, this is where one of the reasons we did the Rebuild Roadmap webinar series is so one of the next ones we're having on is going to be an insurance adjuster.
Okay.
And so if it's something that we can collaborate on, co-brand, or just kind of you can send out to your people, we're actually talking to the adjusters. We're bringing the experts on in their particular fields to ask them these specific questions. Now, you and Jonathan just mentioned it, referencing the county. We get different answers from different people all the time. So that's why we need to continuously have these conversations, because it's continuously going to be able to change. But we want to give as much of the right, most accurate information to the Altadenans so that they can rebuild.
Okay. So that absolutely, we can do something together. You can let me know when the webinar is going to be. We will promote it here. If you want to come on and talk about it the day before it's going to happen, or sponsor the show, like we have segments and you can sponsor us for that particular show, where BZ Build would sponsor this show, and it is dedicated again to BZ Build and to the webinar and the Rebuild series. We can talk about all that offline, and if that is something you all want to do, we'd be happy to promote it and let people know, hey, this series is out there. Here's these recordings already, right? Send the links. We'll co-brand it with Altadena Talks, and then share that with people. And after that, make sure that we have people on. If it's during a time that the show is on, maybe we could stream it also to people or whatever. But we can get creative and figure out something so that the information is going to the people, because that's what this podcast is about. What can we do to bring the right people before the people, the community,
Correct.
So they have accurate information from them, which is why we had the Colonel on, Colonel Abichal on Tuesday, while you all are on today. Next Thursday, the County Assessor Jeffrey Prung is going to be on the show, because people need to hear it from the experts, right? Because like you said, David, I've got a couple builders, one named Allison. She and her architect are down there, if not daily, every other day. And she does legislation. She goes up to Sacramento. She calls, emails people. And we were talking the other day, she has 2 emails, same subject and question, 2 different answers, right? Whether it's from the planning people, the permitting people, or the county, and it's daily. And that's what's so confusing, which is why I'm bringing people on, because then it comes directly from not that people that are under the top person are not valued or whatever, but they may get conflicting information. So if I bring the assessor on instead of a deputy assessor or just someone in his office, then when they watch that show on June 12th, they can hold him to what he says, right? And it's recorded. So, and it will live on our YouTube channel. So people can go back and say, okay, well, this is what the county assessor said about this, or this is what BZ Build Co. said about how they can help or what they are attempting to do, right? And this was the webinar where they brought their adjuster on, and Altadena Talks partnered with them to get this information to the people. That's 100%,
Tony. I mean, we want to be able to be a resource. We want to be, and you're talking about using the content as a reference and part of a library. And I think that library where and because we know as we bring things forward, we say, here's what we're finding out. We want to be able to, so people like Supervisor Catherine Barber's office, whether it's going to be anybody who is an assembly person or a senator who's in these areas, that they can kind of see what it is we are all wrestling with. Just like a perfect example of what you said, somebody that you're familiar with is getting information from different, 2 different answers on the same question. Though there's things, is it going to continue to happen? The part about having, trusted people in this space, such as yourself and your team, is so critical, so that we can then, because we're the ones who are front line. Jonathan and I and our people and Matt are out there front of line getting that information. We want to get it to the people to help all of the Altadenans rebuild and get back into their homes. Particularly, we want to cut down the red tape as much as possible to get to construction. And then one of the things I wanted to add, and I don't know if I did, I apologize if I'm repeating myself, is that if it's something that a new construction home doesn't work, we're going to tell them that. They may not have enough money. When this is what I said to you yesterday, it's like, we're going to be able to say, hey, this is what we can do. And if this is not within your budget, here's something that you should really look at. Not that you can't do anything, but hey, we want to encourage you to rebuild, because this is one thing that our team, we had a fantastic meeting the other day. This is a legacy process. Mm-hmm. Rebuilding this town is going to be a legacy. That's something we want to be able to look at with pride and to be able to say we were a part of it. And these conversations are just the very beginning, because there's so many aspects to it. And we appreciate the opportunity again to be here to talk about BZ Build Co. and our team.
Totally. Matt, I think you were supposed to be chiming in, huh? But every time David answered a question that I had or whatever, something else.
I went to a new question.
Yeah, I got to remember, what was it that
it's a problem that David is too thorough.
And me, because I'm gonna be thorough. I'm gonna ask questions. All of this.
I love it.
Probably get on and do a 2-hour show.
I think your question, as I recall, was if the relationship manager takes the place of the external adjuster. And the answer is no. They will interface with them. They will happily interface with them on your behalf. But for an insurance adjustment thing, having a dedicated external insurance adjuster advocate who works in that field full time knows that, I think is very beneficial. But your relationship manager can work with them and be your interface with them as well.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that was just something that, I thought about, like, okay, who would jump in during this process, or who would do something during this process? Okay, so we'll talk about the webinar series, or we'll get that information, offline. We'll email back and forth, because I do want people to be able to know and be a part of it, so that they can get additional questions answered, or just get additional information that might then make a question pop into their brain, right? What's the best way? And I believe Brian had it up before, but after this webinar, if somebody's like, you know what, they seem like, yeah, they really do want to help. And there are Altadenians in their group that have been affected. What's the best way for somebody to start the process with BZ Build Co? Is it to go to that website?
Yeah, I would recommend going to that website, or if you go to bzbuildco.com/contact, there's a form that you can fill out with, your name, contact info, where your lot was, kind of thing. And one of our people will reach out to you. Either I'll reach out to you, or David or Jonathan. The three of us will take point and speak with you. Because
Okay.
we want to. Yeah, it's if you click on that, I want more info. That's right there on the main website. That'll take you to that form.
And how long? What is the turnaround for someone to reach out? Is there a SLA of like 48 hours or
24 hours?
24. Awesome. So within 24 hours, someone internally on your team will have gotten the information and reached out to that person that fills that out.
Matt,
Correct.
you should share who gets all that information and all the phone calls.
Oh, all that information and the phone number on the website, it all routes directly to my personal cell phone.
Oh, so
Yep.
so even when you're out and about, you'll get a notification, and you can, if you're not busy, call, email, or whatever with someone. At least
I was dropping my son off at school today, and I got a phone call. Someone called in the 626-775-5030 number, and I was able to talk with them, and we chatted for a good. It was perfect timing. My son, he's in preschool now. He kissed me goodbye right as I picked up the phone, so I was able to chat with them for half an hour.
Yeah,
And David, that reminds me, they want to set up an in-person meeting.
I want to share that also too, Tony. After this concludes, Matt has already sent me somebody to follow up with and said, this is somebody you need to call as soon as you're done, which is what I'll be doing.
Nice. Not from here today, or just from one
From
that just
previous.
From the call this morning I got at school drop
Okay.
off.
Nice. So Brian, since you're clicking through the website, can you go back to not the process right now, the 3-step, but the gallery, because I looked at those yesterday and I was like, ooh, I like that mid-century modern if I had to rebuild a house, right? But let's click on each of those 3 photos and kind of see what is here. Are these all homes that you all have built?
Yeah, so Tony, this is a gallery of some of the projects that our team has worked on, Brennan Construction, but all of us collectively, David and myself have worked on projects even outside of this. So we have an extensive amount of experience, but I want to mention that what David and I do in those follow-up phone calls and in-person meetings is we talk about the client and what their goals are and what they want. I mean, we have some clients that are in our design process right now that have went to Disneyland, have taken photos, and they're working through creating a storybook style home. So like whatever you name it, whatever you want, we're going to be able to work with our design team to create for you.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to go through this gallery just because I thought it was so apropos that those 3 style homes that were there are really a good sample of Altadena, right? Because you do have the Spanish style, some that are 1-story, some that are 2-story. You do have, I don't know if we have modern farmhouses, but something similar, definitely on the inside, right? And then the mid-century modern, which we know a lot of Los Angeles and the surrounding areas was designed and built by Paul Williams. There are still a lot of those and they're gone. And so if someone looks at this, because I know there's Foothill catalog and there's a bunch of different builders that have specific catalogs, but this is nice because people can say, oh yeah, I like that, and click on it and tell you, I like that, but I'd like to modify it, right? So, which is something also you guys can do. You can modify any of the plans that someone sees here, or start from scratch, start from a sketch, something that's in someone's brain, and build whatever as you design with them, which is what makes it a custom home, which is great. And then that last one that I immediately was like, ooh, I would make that one, because that's so my style, right? Like I would build that. That's so my style. It's just beautiful. But to see the craftsman, the workmanship in these homes, and a lot of people that have older homes now are saying, oh, I've seen beautiful homes like this with these islands, and I want that, right? And so it's here, it's on the site. People can look at those 3. They can make a comment and say, yeah, I'd like to talk to you about a home, and go from there. So I'm super glad that you have at least these on here. And then again, all of you have extensive experience. All of you have portfolios that you could say, oh, we also can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G through probably 1,000 different homes, right? And show photos once they've contacted you. But then even after that, you can say, or we can just start from scratch, or you sketch it out or whatever. And that's super important because Altadena will rebuild with its uniqueness, and we will have mid-century modern and Spanish and Tudor and, you know, maybe farmhouses and maybe container homes. Or speaking of that, do you all do anything with container homes? Because I know that there are people that have said they wanted to do a container home, and I've heard both sides like, oh yeah, they're great, and other people are like, oh, California and LA County makes it so hard to build a container home, yada yada yada. But what if somebody wants to do a shipping container home?
I will, if I may, please just jump in real quick. Container homes is something that we've looked at and I've seen, and with all of the message groups and all of the training and the content creating that I've been doing for years about accessory dwelling units, container ADUs have definitely been on my radar.
Okay.
And if you look at them as the final per square foot cost, it's typically on the high side. They can be done, but being able to convert them so that they're compliant with the California Building Code and Title 24 energy efficiency standards, it is a lot of work to be able to do it.
Okay.
We see people do these kind of off the radar, so that if no one's going to turn them in, hey, they can do it. That's something, because they're pretty much indestructible.
Yeah.
But as far as a permittable, something that you want to rent out because it has to have a permit if you're going to rent it out, or it's just too much of a risk.
But not even renting out. Like literally, instead of me doing a timber home, I want to put on my lot now, and I want to build a container home. Again, everything I say is scenario based, right? But what if somebody said that?
That's something, there are companies that are definitely providing that option. Okay. In my advocacy,
Easy build code doesn't, right?
No, I would want to have a really long, hard conversation with somebody about that. And I would love it if we had it. Somebody said, hey, here's a bid. And well, then we're going to be able to say, hey, look at that square footage. Look at the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Let us give you a comparative bid. And let's kind of go through those line by line, because one thing that I really am enjoying about these conversations, Toni, is you are about the facts. You are about the data, and that is what we are about. We want to be able to go line by line by line to prove it. Like, so if I said something, and I don't think we need to touch on it now, but there are things that I think you and I need to kind of square up with on some other stuff on price per square foot.
Yep.
I want to be part of that.
Yep. Okay, so and we'll delve into that a little bit. We're almost at an hour, so we'll be done shortly. But are you talking your building? Are you coming back with traditional stick builds, or are you looking at steel? Are you looking at 3D printing? Are you looking at prefabs? What or the whole gamut, right? For BZ build.
We're looking at traditional stick build. Can we do any type of construction? Yes, we can. But that's going to also be defined by the engineer and what they're creating. But it kind of piggybacks off of your question of, well, we're dealing with a lot of individuals that are confined to really tight budgets. And so building a home made of steel is likely, I wouldn't say it's not impossible, but it's going to be really challenging if you're on a confined budget.
Well, because if I'm not mistaken, we just got 50% tariffs added again yesterday to steel and aluminum. So, of course, that would be more challenging now. But, people are now traumatized and scared of having a stick-built house because we were timber boxes. Granted, the eaves have to be fully where fire can't get under them now. There's got to be, closed, and they can't get under them. And the stick or the wood is on the inside, right? At what, 16-inch studs or whatever. So, that could still be the framing, but people are traumatized. Like, if I frame that way again, what am I going to do? So what's an alternative or whatever? So that's why I asked about the other alternatives, which Dave and I will be going back and forth about, or talking about in a good way, about the prefab, right? Or the 3D or some other methods. which are a little bit more solid when it comes to fireproofing. And then, I know some of those, and even with the stick build, the tin roofs or the siding or the, whatever it is that can make these harden so that there's less of a chance they'd reburn, and more likely that your insurance company won't try to raise your rate by 100% because now you have a home that will not be blown away, burned down, or whatever, right? And there's a lot more likelihood that you can get back in that home and still be able to afford to live there. So that's why I asked, what types do you do? Because people that are watching may want to know, and that might cause them to call you and say, oh, okay, well, you can do all of that. So the fact that it's a traditional stick build, I don't want people to think, oh, that's just going to burn down again, because with the hardening and hardscaping, it likely will not. And even the wood is treated now, so it won't burn. And, versus a house that was built post-war or something, that would, if termites didn't eat it by now, it just was almost rotten or whatever anyway, right? And probably wasn't treated to the standards of today. So that's why I asked those questions, because I know people will want to know. I don't think we have questions in the chat today. We don't, just people that have joined, said good morning, they're sharing this. But some days we have no questions. Other days we have super interactive chats. But it doesn't mean that people aren't watching and getting the information, because they absolutely are. And I don't know, is there anything to end this that you all want to leave with people? Because we have the banner that has the website. We have the info at bzbuildco.com. We have the phone number. So Matt, be prepared maybe for some more contact information or calls today, hopefully.
Absolutely.
But yeah, is there anything that each of you would like to leave our audience with today?
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I just want to thank everyone, Tony and Brian. I want to thank y'all for having us on, but I want to thank everyone watching for giving us your time and attention. And please do avail yourselves of the webinars in our YouTube channel. Even if you don't end up, signing with us, they're very valuable educational resources that I think everyone should use and take, to help vet whoever you end up going with, because it's a tough process, and we're aiming to make it as easy as possible for everyone who's working with us, but then through the webinars, even just Altadena in general, because our main goal is that Altadena gets rebuilt. We can't rebuild all of it. We have quite a lot of capacity. I don't know if David, if you guys mentioned before I got on, our capacity is very large for how many jobs we can do simultaneously, and we're built to scale. But we can't rebuild 6,400 or whatever the current number of single-family homes is. That can't all be us. So we want to make sure that everyone is getting the best education that they can in terms of what they can take forward. Because, like I said, even though technically I'm 2 blocks south, Altadena is our home.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Cafe de Leche t-shirt, and my wife and I, when we got home with our son from the hospital, the first restaurant, we wanted to go eat at was shrimp and grits at Fox's. It's
I'll tell you what, you're honorary Altadenian only because you're a block south in Pasadena, and we're all one big Dena community. It's all Dena love, so no worries on that. Yeah. Matt, Dave?
I'll go next, so Jonathan can kind of wrap it up. The one thing I want to kind of again, I'm just focused on it a couple times is being able to kind of partner with you and your team to be able to kind of get the information that's out there. I think we've said that we're a full service design build company. Our focus is on construction, but I think that for me, as somebody who's very technical and likes to dive into the minutia and the particulars of ordinances and codes, but also, the complexity of it, we want to be able to offer that we understand that it's hard, that it's going to be difficult, it's going to be a journey together, that with us or with whomever, we want to help prepare as many people as we can for that journey so that they do rebuild. And again, we really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share that with people.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, Tony, I just want to thank you for having us on the show. We're really delighted to be here. And just to kind of to piggyback on what Matt said is, when you decide to work with someone, the first and most important thing is trust. Trust, transparency, and communication. There's going to be several hundred, if not 1,000 different contractors that are going to be working, all throughout Altadena and Pacific Palisades to rebuild all the homes that were lost. So, to the community out there is reach out, to the different groups and make sure that they're educating you on the process. Building a home is extremely challenging. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And really, what we do at BZ is we make it easy. One of the things we didn't really talk about on this call is we have a design studio. So we're able to help our clients pick out all of their finish selections while their plans are in process with the county. And this is probably the most tedious and hardest and challenging parts of building a home is all the different finishes, from doorknobs to doorstops, to flooring material, cabinets, counters, tile, I mean, you name it. And so we're able to guide people through that process. We've got an interior designer who's put together several design packages at different price levels to be able to just to work with, different style of homes from the aesthetic as well as different budget levels. And we're, like I said, we're a solution-driven company. So our goal is to work with you through the construction process. It's a journey, and there's nothing that we're going to be more proud of than handing you the keys into your new home and just, and being around. We're local, we're in the community, and we're here to stay.
Yeah, thank you. And I have this collective question. I know David will probably answer it, but how realistic is it to say, I contact somehow BZ Build today. I get a call back within 24 hours. We start working. I come out to Burbank, talk to you all, meet. We go through the process and I decide, okay, you all are going to be my designers, builders, whatever, right? Could I realistically be back in my home in 6 months? No?
Impossible. And if anybody said it was, I want to talk to them because
why? From the time I get my permit, it's impossible for me to be in my house in 6 months?
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was from starting. Like if you have your permits getting into 6 months, I think that would mean it is a single focused contractor who may have not, and I don't know how he's going to keep his crews just on that one particular job. It is a very, very tight timeline. We're trying to be as realistic with people as possible and say that it's more likely anywhere from 10 to 14 months after you have your permits and building. It's 10 to 14, but 6 is.
So maybe the process total would be 18 months. Is that realistic to say?
I think your design, depending on the design phase, that can take 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And just kind of getting the initial conceptual done, and then after you kind of go into the part of that requires the engineering. So for the structural, electrical, plumbing, and everything else, and also getting it ready to submit, that takes probably another month or so, give or take. And then we go into submission to the county, and we're hoping that it comes down. And the time is really short. I mean, it's coming down from issuing permits. And the last time I heard from Mr. Xavier Thomas, one of our consultants, there was, I think, 12 or 14 permits that have been issued. Tony, you may know more than I do. We haven't got an update this week, but they're starting to come out. So you have the design, you have getting everything to submit, and then you have when they're issued. So that could be, 3 months, 4 months. But when I consult with clients, one of the longest phases is that design part where they're trying to figure out if it's not like for like, and it's not, I want everything the same. Trying to reconfigure and move things around takes a lot of bandwidth. And so we try to be very patient with people to kind of move them through that process as, compassionately as possible. So go ahead, Jonathan.
We want to set realistic expectations. Building a home, especially from the ground up, requires a lot of inspections from the county officials. And given our past experiences, if you call for inspection, you're not going to get them out there the very next day. Likely, it might take a few days, and we want to build these right. So if the inspectors have corrections, then you got to make sure that you're on top of it, as well as all the required deputy inspections. Additionally, on top of this city and county, for foundation for and so forth. So. We, through our design process, we really want to create realistic expectations. Specificity is another key characteristic, and we're talking about like windows and doors. And so unless you're building something that's completely standardized with all windows and door schedule, then you may have supply and demand issues that can affect how long it takes to get certain materials on site. So 6 months is likely impossible.
Okay, no, that's why I'm asking, because we're hearing everything, right? Oh, we can put your house up in 3 months. Oh, it's going to take 3 years. And so it's somewhere in between, but I guess it depends on who it is. And like you said, if it's a singular focus, or if it's, KB Homes or somebody that already has 1,000 in the pipeline, like what can they do, right? So that's why I asked, and not to pinpoint it for you all, but just to get a ballpark, right? And in a realistic timeline of what the estimate may be. So, yeah, okay, well, thank you. I know that was the last question that came up, and you all were saying your thank yous and all that. I know you all said thank you to me, but thank you so much for reaching out, John, and then us having our call yesterday, and then you all agreeing to jump on today, because I think this has been a valuable hour for people to learn about BZ Build Co. And I like your transparency, your upfront, your honestness of just coming on and saying, hey, this is it. So I look forward to offline chatting with you all and working with you and bringing you back and see where we can partner with you in the future.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we look forward to having you come into our office, and as well as your team. And
Brian, Jamal's out of town this weekend, but maybe next week. I told you afternoons are good for me. You all are in Burbank. We can come in, see the office, sit down and talk. And we'd like to do that for sure. So I will schedule something with both of them and you all for sometime next week in the afternoon.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about the mother-in-law suites.
We can do it.
That's what the JADU stands for to me.
Yeah,
that's it. No, 100%. We can talk all day long. That's my focus. I love them.
Yeah, you have one right behind you.
I'm going to get ready to say toodles. Thank you all so much for coming on. I know that we're not doing announcements today because Jamal is preparing for his weekend trip that we talked about. He will have announcements with us tomorrow. But thank you, gentlemen, and everyone on the screen. There are, again, the phone numbers, the ways that you can contact them, info@bzbuild.co, bzbuildco.com, which is separate from the https://bzbuildco.com/ or the 626-775-5030. Matt is standing by. So right, he will get your information and get right to you or send it to whomever. So thank you, gentlemen, again for coming on and being a valuable resource. And let's see what we can do together.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Y'all have a great one.
Okay.
See everyone later. We're in.
Brian. Thank you so much, Brian, for being the back room engineer, making sure our pictures were sliding in and out like they were supposed to. Again,
the backyard boogie.
Yep, everyone out there. I got about 3 minutes. I got to jump. I have a meeting, but thank you all, or in 2 minutes. Thank you all for being on and watching today. Hope you got some valuable information. And if you feel like you want to work with, or at least speak with them and see where they can direct you, contact BZ Build Co. And we out you.
All righty, peace.